Everybody, thank you so much for coming here to Brooklyn. You may clap if you want to. Woo! There we go. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm very happy that you guys have come in. You're probably wondering, Larry, why are you sitting in a Brooklyn pub and doing a live recording? Or why am I doing this? Because I always do it live. I do it live on purpose because I want you to know two things. Number one, whatever you hear me saying, I don't say just to you and then say something behind your back. I say the same thing to everybody. So it is now documented. Also, I do it live because I have no notes. I've been running in some way, shape, or form for about 5 years across this state. And I've done literally probably 400 or 500 events. And every time I do an event, I do it live with no notes. So you always get exactly what I think every single time. Whether you like it or not, I can't promise. But I can promise you will get truth. What I want to talk about now is something specific, which is urban. I want to talk about New York City specifically. People always complain and say, you libertarians, you don't have an answer for New York City. I do. And I'm going to talk about one of the hardest pieces to deal with, the MTA. The MTA is a disaster. It was a disaster before COVID. It's a disaster now. It was a $1 billion boondoggle in 2019. It's a multi-billion-dollar boondoggle now. And the federal government money is running out. And as that runs out, we are in trouble. We were supposed to be up to 86% ridership by this year. We are at 60%. We are now supposed to be up to 80% by 2025 or 2026. How are we going to pay for that? We can't. What does that mean? More debt. The state's already about $400 or $500 billion in debt, or higher rates for people who are going around, or more taxation for you. Now, New York State is losing, give or take, 200,000 to 300,000 people every single year walking out. We've already lost the congressperson. How are we going to keep this budget going up with having less and less people? We can't. You're going to pay more. You get less services for more. Now, if you're on the right, you yell, oh my God, I don't want more taxes. If you're on the left, you yell, why can't the big businesses pay? I have an answer for both of you. We can do both. Number one thing to rebuild this entire system is to actually allow freight to come into New York City through the MTA system in the evenings. In the evenings right now in MTA, maybe one in every other train actually runs, sometimes less than that. Why can't every other train be a freight train? Freight train come out of New York, out of Long Island, freight train coming from upstate, freight train coming out of New Jersey. I know what you're going to tell me, Larry, freight trains are different kind of trains, different kind of tracks. You're right, which means they'll have to rebuild the entire system, won't they? Yes, they will. And that's the point. Larry, they won't build it for free. Yeah, they will. How do I know that? Because companies like Amazon and FedEx and UPS, their marketing budget is in the billions. Billions with a B. To rebuild these tracks, it's a couple $1 billion. They would do it happily as long as we give them two things. Preferential treatment in the evenings. So theirs come in for the first 5 or 10 years, right? Give them preferential treatment up the back for building a thing and name it after them. Literally, there's going to be a Google hub, an Amazon hub. And what's the pushback I get? Larry, I can't stand having like an Amazon hub. So you prefer terrible service where people die and homeless people get killed and you have to pay $5 and there's no recourse whatsoever. You prefer that plan? That's a bad plan. Mine's a better plan. You get new hubs, you get new trains, you get new everything, and someone else pays for it. And now guess what? With that freight coming in, less trucks in New York City, less wear and tear on infrastructure, means less pedestrian deaths, less cyclist deaths, because less trucks in the city, less wear and tear in the city, because everything's coming in through trains instead in the evenings. It assists in multiple ways. You don't have to worry about congestion pricing anymore if you don't want to, because you'll have an actual MTA that works. How in the world can we have so much traffic in the city when there are less people in the city and coming into the city? Right now in New York City, the commercial occupancy is less than 50% still. So how can you have so many people coming in? Because people won't use the transit system. They are afraid of it. So they drive anyway. Give them a good transit system, a cheap transit system, they won't drive in here. No need for any congestion pricing. And now you have trucks coming in at night, not coming in at night. Instead, trains coming in at night, no trucks coming in during the day. Larry, that sounds good, but we'll need more. You're right, we will. So how about this? Right now, we have all of our infrastructure, our bridges, our tunnels, named after our aristocracy. I'm not joking, named after our aristocracy. RFK, Cuomo Bridge, it's named after our former kings and queens. Well, I have an idea. Let's not do that. Let's instead lease out naming rights to those bridges. Why is it instead, again, the Google Bridge, the Amazon Bridge, the Pepsi Bridge, I don't care what it is, they will easily pay $100 million a year for one bridge. Larry, you made that up. I did not make that up. They actually dropped $20 million for a stadium that's used on the weekends. I've already talked to bankers. They're happy to do this. Ask how long the lease will be. The lease has to be at least 10 years because things like Google Maps and people have to be able to change their minds to now call and get the new bridge. You do a 12-year lease, you front load the actual dollars, so it's not 100 million a year. It's 200 million the first year, 28 the second year. You front load all the cash. So in case they back out, we still get our money. We still own the bridge, and we still inspect the bridge. If the bridge becomes unsafe, they lose the contract, next contract, and we front load all the money. We still make our money. That money now goes back to the MTA to lower the pricing and to make sure we can get things done. But it's the best part: no tolls, because part of the deal is the maintenance. They take care of the maintenance. We inspect it. They put the maintenance together. So they still take care of the maintenance. But Larry, what about our maintenance workers? They can take care of the potholes that are not in the bridges, can't they? So the same people who are paying you can't fix the bridges. We don't have to worry about that. They'll fix the regular potholes. Better pothole service, better bridges, no tolls. Who pays for the tolls? People who don't live in Manhattan. The wealthy already live in Manhattan. So the working poor and the middle class, they're the ones who pay the tolls. In fact, if you're a trucker and owner-operator right now, you cross the bridge, you pay per axle. So if you don't know that, I used to be a trucker back in the day. You pay per axle. You're paying $100 to cross the bridge. One way. That goes away. More people coming through, everyone's better, an actual plan that will fix things. You might say, Larry, that sounds great, but we have more problems in the subway. That'll get us the money, that'll get us going. But we have things like people who are unhoused. We have people who are addicts. We have people who are in trouble with mental illness. You're right. All those things. Correct. We can fix this too. Again, every plan you will ever hear me talk about, 4 things are true. 1, there will never be an extra tax, fine, or fee. 2, there'll be no enforcement, no new police force. Now I got the new police that stop this thing, and the new police, none of that. It will always focus on helping the working poor and the middle class, because if you help those 2 groups, everyone else is helped. And last, it will always focus on the entrepreneur class versus the corporate class. You try to make the entrepreneur class happier because they're the ones who make change local. All my policies work on that idea. So we'll go back to one more. How do I deal with the problem with the people in the MTA? Simplest one to begin with. I call it the carrying caboose. Every other train car, the last car in that train, in every other train, the last car is the carrying caboose. It's a sponsored caboose by pharmaceutical companies or any companies that are trying to do good. There's lots of those companies trying to fix your image. Great. I have a way you can make this work. Go there. Sponsor that there. Why? Because I want security there, but I don't want cops there. Am I against cops? Not at all. I'm not anti law enforcement at all. But a whole lot of people homeless are. A whole lot of addicts are anti-cop. They are. And if they're there, the cops are there, they're not showing up. We need private security. That's why it has to be sponsored by private security with people who are there who can take care of them. We get Wi-Fi in every one of those places. So now Johnny shows up and the guy goes, oh, yo, Johnny, how you doing? What's going on with your issues? How do we help you out? They can get service at the caboose. Now I know the pushback I get. And these funds are perfect. There's always pushback. And the pushback is, Larry, you're shipping them off to the back. Yes, I am. The other option is I leave them there to physically kill people, throw feces on them, push them out into the subway, or I have them get arrested and beaten by cops or thrown in jail. None of these are good options. I'll take the carrying caboose. It is a better option that will give us immediate places to do. We can have the cops bring them back there, have a chance to have some safety, and the rest of the train is now safe for people to drive. But that isn't enough. I don't want them going to the caboose because the other pushback I get is, well, Larry, shouldn't these people be in shelters? They should be. You're right. They should be. But they're not going in the shelter. Why? Because it is a government-run shelter that has paperwork and bureaucracy. If you are mentally challenged or if you're an addict, that's too much for you to handle. You're not going to handle it. You don't handle it. They fail all the time. So what do? They can't do the thing, so they wind up going to the MTA. So what's the answer? Nonprofits run housing far better than New York City has ever run housing. Not even close. Not even close. So we allow for private sponsored housing. All specialized. Just for veterans, just for addicts, just for working moms, just for the working poor. Insert thing here. Allow them to do it. Very simple. You sponsor it again. I'm getting big companies to pay for all we want without paying extra tax, and they'll happily pay for it. They won't skip the taxes. They want this kind of thing. They spend literally billions of dollars trying to find ways to make themselves look better, billions of dollars trying to brand themselves effectively. I'm going to give them so many options. I'm going to give them so many options. Come to my city, spend your money, protect and serve our people so we don't have to raise taxes, make a city that people want to come to again. Absolutely do that. You sponsor those houses. The rule in this is very simple. All you have to do to show up and be in this house is tell them, whoever's running the house, how much money you make. That's it. You have to disclose your salary, whatever it is. And what you have to pay for is 1/3 of your income. That's your rent. If your income's zero, your rent's zero. If your income's $100, you pay $33. You pay 1/3 of whatever your income is. Why? Because then I never throw you out. At one point, you will make so much money if I help you to make enough money that it won't make sense for you to spend that kind of rent for that kind of apartment. You'll leave on your own. But we've done this before. This has already been done before. And when they do, what we find is done with veterans, is that they often stay longer because they want to become part of the community and help. They stay to help others. And whatever your issue is, whether it's addiction, whether it's mental illness, no one can help you better than someone who's been through it already. And those people show up here. It's already been happening. It happens right now in the Bronx. Do it right now in the Bronx. You get actual help. Government will be out of it. People will have options. But Larry, you're getting rid of the safety net. At no point am I ending what's already there. Government programs, as bad as they are, will still exist. But if I'm correct, people will go to the non-government programs. If they go there, government programs will either get better or go away because the community has stepped up and serviced the people. I hope I'm right. If I'm wrong, you still have your safety net. I haven't removed it. If I'm wrong, safety net's still there. If I'm right, though, now things get better. What you hear me do constantly is actually take a situation where the monopoly of government is now broken to have another community option. More community options means people can be served without having to put the same burden on the same people. And the pushback I get is, Larry, why don't we just tax the wealthy all the time? Let's tax the wealthy. We don't care. We'll tax the wealthy. We could do that. That's an option. However, they're leaving. And the response again is, they won't leave. There's evidence to prove that's not true. That's a lie. You see it. New York State and California has lost the most billionaires in the last 5 years. I think I'm making it up. Do your own homework. It's obviously true. We've lost like $20 billion worth of billionaires out of New York State, more out of California. They're leaving. They're going to Florida. They're going to Texas. That's where they're going. Big cities are moving right now. Dallas, San Antonio, right? Austin, Miami, killing it. And a secondary, Nashville. They're all going down. What's the common denominator of all those cities? Anybody know? No state income tax. No state income tax. Those three states, Tennessee, Florida, Texas, no state income tax. If you're a crypto person, you might go to Wyoming. Wyoming's starting to grow crypto. If you happen to be crypto, it's going to Wyoming. They also, by the way, no state income tax. But it's very, I'm sorry, say again? Not before. Yes, it was. So that may have changed because crypto had a big problem this year. But prior to that, Wyoming was a very niche area for crypto. But most people were going to either Florida, Texas, or Tennessee, the big three. I want to stop that. I want them to stay here. I want them to want to be here. We can do it. These are ideas to actually fix New York City, to make things better. And at no case, in no point, that I attack anybody, force anybody. New York State right now has a $220 billion budget. 19 countries and California have a bigger budget than our state. Per capita, with the exception of Alaska, we are the #1. We spend the most per capita for every state on our citizens. And people are leaving. Alaska is an exception because they write a check to the people every year. So Alaska is an exception. They literally write a check from their oil reserves. They write a check to the people every year. So they're higher than us because of the check. Take away the check, we're the highest. We spend the most. California has twice our population, but only another half in budget, only $300 billion in budget. Ours is $220 billion. Florida has more people than us. No state income tax, half our budget. Half our budget. So when I hear the argument, well, Larry, if we're only funded, we're underfunded, that is a blatant lie in this state. Demonstrably false. Well, we'd be able to do better with education if we funded it more. We literally are the highest funded education system in the country. We average over $29,000 per kid, the highest in the entire nation. And we almost always rank in the bottom 25 of the states. Last time I checked, we ranked 44 out of 51 because they count DC. When you do these numbers, they count DC. So if you count 50 states plus DC, we rank 44th out of 51 for the max amount of money. I say this because we can deal with the issues of big cities. We can deal with the issues of the urbanites in our state without just spending more money. The grift in these cities is embarrassing. And here's the worst part. They've been run by the same people for decades. And the poor keep getting poorer and the rich keep getting richer. It hasn't changed. And the second you attack the rich, they pack up and leave. We saw it during the first crash, 2008, 2009, and we saw it during the COVID lockdowns. It's going to happen again if we don't change it. It can be repaired. This is a libertarian answer. Thank you all. Thank you. Woo! I'm happy to take any questions or comments that you may have, either on this, something I said, anything else, any concerns, any worries. I'm happy to take any comments or questions. Anybody? That was such a good conversation that you were all just on. Okay, go. Yes.
I'm curious to hear more about this.
Yep.
I think it's really smart.
Yes, the MTA, sure.
45 minutes per train. Half drunken.
Yes, and just so the audience hears, he's talking about how in New York City at night, the trains, there's large gaps between trains running, particularly since the lockdowns. It's worse since the lockdowns. You can sit on a platform at 1 o'clock in the morning when you're coming home from partying and sit on a platform 45 minutes. Correct. Yes. So with that in mind, why am I waiting 45 minutes? Have every other train be a freight train.
What would it take?
100%. If you go to I think I still might have it. I don't know if we have it on my website right now, LarrySharp.com. We actually had a white paper on the entire thing. We call it the forward faster plan. So we had a white paper on the entire thing. It can be done. It will take time. This is not a 5-minute plan, because you also have to rebuild the bridge that goes across the Jersey, the tunnel. I'm sorry, that goes across the Jersey. That's going to be a bunch of money too. But if we do it, if the government does it, here's the most important piece. If the government does it, it will be over budget and it will take 10 years. How do I know that? It's always over budget and it always takes 10 years. Always. It doesn't matter every single time. But we're not doing that. All the government's doing in this case is saying, Google, Amazon, FedEx, build the bridge, build the so-and-so, fix the thing. We're going to walk away. We'll inspect when it's done. That's it. Here's what I'm sure of. Amazon, FedEx, Google, they're not going to put up with 10 years of delays. They're simply not. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But Larry, the workers will have lots of work because there's still other work to be done in the city. There's still other work to be done. It doesn't go away. So yes, it will take time. And the advantage is you might think the city has to do it. It doesn't. The MTA is officially is a state-run organization because it crosses more than one county. So the state can step in for the MTA. The city does not have to say yes. The city would. Of course they would. I mean, I'm sorry. The city executives would act like they're against me because they don't want to be pro-libertarian. So they would pretend like they hate the plan to their people and go evil libertarians and 100% back. How do I know that? The amount of people, for those of you who don't know this, if I win the governorship, and I hope I do, people always say the same thing. Larry, you can't govern. You're not going to be able to have any people around you who in the Senate, in the Assembly. That's not true. The reality of it is, if I win the governorship, we will actually run the Senate. How? There are enough state senators who will turn libertarian, and I'll run it by the swing vote. I only need about 5 to 6 state senators to actually control the Senate, the state Senate with the swing vote. So I need, and enough will return. The same thing will happen also with the Assembly, but not enough. I will still not have the Assembly. There's too many Democrats in the Assembly. I will not run the Assembly, but I'm gonna have a chunk turn libertarian. There's a bunch of people who want to be libertarian, a bunch, but they know how hard it is to run. They know how hard it is to win. They know how hard it is to get the attention. Some guy like me blows a hole, you will have a bunch of libertarians come through. So many of them will act like they hate it, and then they'll say yes, and they know it's the right answer. They know. Most people in New York State, if you've noticed this, they know it's all failing. They're grifting while the getting's good. I'm not joking. That's 100% true. I meet most of these people. I've met so many of these politicians. Many of them actively hate you. And I mean that. I'm not joking. Many of them actively hate you. Why do they hate you? Because you always complain. They can't fix anything. I'm serious. I'm not joking. This is why some people leave Congress. They go to Congress, They can't fix anything, so they leave and become pundits because they're tired of hearing people complain at them. Happens here all the time. They can't fix anything. Nobody wants to fix anything. They can't fix anything. So they don't fix anything. You complain. They hate you, and then they leave. Or they just stay and just ignore you and treat you like garbage. Happens constantly. So we can change that. If we could actually give them the option to fix something, and actually stay and want to care. So many of them know that they can't fix anything. So they just stay in charge to grip as much as they possibly can, and then they walk away when the time comes. I wish that wasn't true. You see it everywhere. You see it everywhere. So I'm sorry, was that kind of dark? I apologize. I wasn't trying to be dark. But the reality of it is, if someone actually realized they could fix something, they would do it. And how do I know that? Because all my policies have been on my website for 5 years. For 5 years. They've been right there. Anyone who wants to take it can take it. But did anybody happen to see my Joe Rogan interview? At the end of my Joe Rogan interview, Joe Rogan says, this is 2018. 2018. He says, Larry, you got these great ideas. Where did you get them from? I said, me and my policy and put them all together. He's like, that's great. You got to lock them down. I said, why should I lock them down? He goes, people will take them. I said, take them. Fix my state. I don't have to run. I can go back home and work. I don't have to run anymore. Good. That'd be amazing. And no one has. So no one even wants to. So it sounds bad. But once there's someone, the other thing you realize is, as a general rule, Americans listen to executives, not people who are in Congress or people legislators. We listen to governors, presidents, mayors. We listen to executives. I don't know if it's cultural or maybe it's the press, maybe it's the media, but that's who we listen to. Right? When the governor talks, we listen. When some assembly talks, we fall asleep. So you have to be an executive moving forward. Does that make sense? Any other comments or questions? Yes, please.
New York State, right? But how would you pass?
Well, there's a lot of things you have to worry about when it comes to the Second Amendment. To be forward, if you are a gun owner in New York State, the only party you have is the Libertarian Party. If you are a gun owner in New York State, no other party in New York State cares about gun rights at all. If you care about gun rights, do I care about gun rights? I do. I care about gun rights. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that two things happen. One, if you don't own a gun and you don't want to own a gun and you want to have gun-free zones in your area, good for you. I'm not against that. You don't have to have guns if you don't want to. I'm not against you not having guns. Good for you. But if you want to have a firearm to protect yourself, you should be able to. You should be able to have a firearm if you want to. And I know that's not a popular stance in New York State at all. About 60% of all New Yorkers want more gun control. So most New Yorkers want more gun control. I'm aware that my stance is not a popular stance, but it doesn't matter if it's popular or not. Lots of stances I have are not popular. So that's just another one. The reality of it is I think we should care. New York State should be a shall issue state, not a may issue state. That's what it should be. So that if you want to get it, they must find a reason to tell you no. Some parts in New York State, it will take you over 2 years to get a permit if you can get one. And if they tell you no, they will give you no answer as to why. Just no, we said no. It should be 90 days if you get your permit. If they give you a reason, they can. Localized people should be able to decide how they want to handle guns in local areas. I'm not against that. Please do what you feel is appropriate in your world. But if they tell you no, they must give you a reason why. And the reason why it matters so much in urban areas is because the people who have guns now in urban areas are just the bad guys and the cops. Depending on what neighborhood you are in, there's no difference. That's how you see it. You don't see any difference in those two people, depending on what neighborhood you are in the city. So we have to change that. We have to make the change in that without question. Now, can we make a massive change overnight? No, we cannot. The state is anti-gun. The state wants more gun control. Most New Yorkers want it. I get it. I'm just trying to make it to where the people in most urban areas who are anti-gun will allow the people who are not in urban areas to do what they want to do and live the way they want to live. And then eventually you'll see other people in the areas, they will decide to live the way they want to live. I look at firearms as an equalizer. That's how I see it, as an equalizer. That's an important part. So I don't know, what was the specific issue you wanted me to touch? Was that good? So yes, okay. So yes, that's my stance on the Second Amendment. I think it's important. But the last piece I bring up is, at a minimum, no matter what you think, no matter how you feel about firearms, right now in New York City, if you bring your legally owned firearm into New York City, you are going to go to Rikers Island, the most violent jail in the entire country. Even if you follow every TSA guideline, I'm not joking, you follow every TSA guideline, your firearm is unloaded and it is locked away. You will still go to Rikers Island, the most violent jail in the country. We should have a very simple rule across New York State. No matter what, the bare minimum, if your legally owned firearm is locked and unloaded, you don't go to jail. That should be the bare minimum. Allow counties to obviously raise that as they feel appropriate. I don't mind that, but that should be the floor, no matter what. Yep. 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 Correct. The next thing is there should be no such thing as a gun crime. That needs to go away. Do you get special, damage because you have a knife crime? Is this a knife murder? Is there bat murder? Is there fist murder? No, but there's gun murder. So people think all the time, well, it's a gun crime, so I have to go to jail for longer. Why? So literally, if I shot you in the head, that was more merciful than me beating you to death with my fist. But I will actually go to jail for more time because I decided to shoot you and be merciful. But I'm the bad guy. I don't care if you're killing people, that's a crime. I don't care what tool you choose to use to kill somebody. Does that make it better all of a sudden? So my whole point is, if someone's defending themselves, it comes the next piece. As we go down gun control, I have a couple things I want to bring up since you brought this one up. The second thing, in New York State, this should be a law. If you use your legally owned firearm to attempt to stop a crime, that should not be a crime. Right now, that's a crime. That should not be a crime. So if I use my firearm in an attempt to stop a crime, that in itself in New York State is a crime. That should not be a crime. That should also go away. Does that make sense? Now, if I defend myself, there should be no crime for defending myself. Possession should not be a crime. Whether that's a drug or a firearm, that should not be a crime. Possession should not be a crime. Doing something with that thing, whether it's drugs or a firearm, can be a crime, but possession should not be a crime. Did I answer your question? Awesome. Any other questions or comments? Please.
I know you're trying to stay on working within the current framework.
Yep.
Privatizing the MTA.
Yes. Privatizing anything is never going to work in New York State right now. Okay. We're just not there. The second you say the word privatize, everyone immediately runs away in another direction. So in no case am I and you've never seen me in favor of selling anything off the private market. What I'm doing is trying to have, based upon similar models that already work, basically adopt the highway programs, right? Leasing out naming rights. The state and city will not give up any property whatsoever. And I know that makes some libertarians unhappy when I say it. I know, but they don't know what state I live in. In my state, that is simply not going to happen. I might as well say New York State's going to build a rocket to Pluto. The odds are exactly the same. The odds are exactly the same of both of those things happen. Me selling off something in New York State or us building a rocket to Pluto, the odds are the same. So while I understand what you're saying, it's not going to happen in my state.
Not even like you talked about leasing naming rights.
Correct.
Not even leasing the tracks.
No, lease the naming rights. That's it. And make a deal, but we own it.
Okay.
We have to own it. Could we lease out tracks? Could we lease out? Yes, but we own it. We're not going to privatize anything.
So we could lease out, to Amtrak the right to operate the.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have no.
You don't own the subway, but you can operate it.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you pay a fee for it.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right.
Well, the problem is we do things exactly the wrong way, and I'll tell you why. Some of you may know that. I'm sure many of you are paying attention. Know that when it comes to the Buffalo Bills up in Buffalo, we just put a whole bunch of money. We gave a whole bunch of billionaires and millionaires a whole lot of money so that people who are nowhere near that can give them even more money on the weekends. So we did. You might go, it makes no sense. It doesn't make sense to the average person, but it does if you're in government. Why? Why does government want to give out government money to these people? Because then they control the jobs. That's the reason. They want to control the jobs. It should be the reverse. Think about any business proposition, right? I have business proposition. I have a space in the middle of Buffalo. That is metro area is about 2 million people. Got the metro area to include other parts, about 2 million people who come there. I have a world to where, in the case of Buffalo area, where that during the season, saying hello, this is how they say hello in that area. Go Bills. That's good morning. If you've ever been to Western New York, I'm not joking. That's good morning in Western New York during Buffalo season. Hey, go Bills, go Bills, go Bills. That's how they are. I have that for you. So you can sell your hot dogs, your t-shirts, your hats, your flags, all your stuff. I have all that for you. If this is the private sector, they say, oh my God, how much do I need to give you for that? But now it's government. How much can I give you to make money? We go exactly the opposite in government. They should be paying us. They should be leasing the space, to your point, from us. You want to put a stadium there? Absolutely. You got to pay us $100 million a year. Stadium's yours. Good luck. You build it, you pay for it, you lease it.
Right.
That's what should happen. I'm giving them access to roads, businesses, 2 million people, and a fan base that is fanatic.
Right.
You owe me. I don't owe you anything.
Right.
But it's the opposite, because if I do that, I can't give jobs away. I can't give out contracts. I can't reward my cronies. I can't do that now. So I don't get, as Kathy Hochul received, over $20 million in campaign cash, and Republicans receive like 12 million. Why would you give them that kind of money if they're not going to pay you back with cool contracts? Right? Doesn't make any sense. So that's the reason why. But yes, you can lease it out.
We could pick up a rock right now and chuck it at Barclays Center. And they pay $1 a year.
Correct. Yes, the Barclays Center. I'm giving you prime space in the middle of downtown Brooklyn. $1.
But they're one of the largest transportation hubs in the city.
Massive transportation hub. Yes.
And they pay us $1.
$1. And a fanatical base of fans who want to go. I'm giving this to you. Yet somehow we're not paying for that. So yes.
Can you explain it? All right, $1 for what?
That's what they. That's correct.
So the city owns Barclays.
Yes.
That
the rent's $1
They're paying $1
a year.
Yes.
And make all the profit.
Correct. So yes, go ahead.
It's on like that
Can you
area.
say it again? I'm sorry.
The area that was built upon, it was light, and when I feel like it has like terrible things.
Right.
No one did that circular.
Right.
It's up and down, maybe like the certain areas of the Bronx.
Yep, I remember.
But that area-
I used to live there. I know exactly. I used to live in South Bronx in the 70s.
But the area that Barclays was on was never like that.
Of course not.
But they got it down, and in the time, but I will never, ever, ever.
It was yet again another grift. This was how they were. This is how they reward cronies.
And they've done that all over, like your time.
Yep.
In
Yep.
Where there.
Yep. If I remember right, I think Madison Square Garden doesn't pay any property tax.
No.
Madison Square Garden doesn't pay property tax.
Okay.
Yeah. Madison Square Garden doesn't pay property tax. That's what a grift this city is. This is what I'm talking about. But no one even says anything. We can fix this. It's fixable. Guys, thank you so much for coming. I praise. Thank you. Thank you all for watching. Thank you.